So I've set out to build a website template for Showit, and not just any template, mind you. I want to make one that is not only free, but is easy to use and is highly downloaded by Showit users. Unfortunately, there are a lot of really great designs on the Showit marketplace, so my work is cut out for me. This last week, I talked to Showit template maven, Miss Jen Olmstead of the Tonic site shop. And she's created templates that some of the biggest known names in the creative world have used. One of the most important things that Jen mentioned she does when she's creating a template was she makes a really specific user persona for the template that she's building. And it can't just be a general, like, this template is for a small business owner. That doesn't really narrow things down a ton. We need to get into the nitty-gritty details of a specific type of person that we are building our template for. We need to really get into our user's head. Might sound a little weird, but we've got to figure out things like their hopes and their dreams, the things that keep them up at night, what kind of magazines they like looking at, what kind of websites they like going to. When we do that, we can figure out some real specific things that we can include in our template that's really going to help to serve the user best. So I've got a pretty good idea of what industry I want to focus on, and we're kind of landed on marketing and branding. But like James mentioned, marketing and branding can mean two different things. And even when someone says I'm in marketing, that could mean a lot of different things. We need to get much more specific if we're going to really serve a user persona well. And to do that, I've got to do some more research. And one of my most trusty tools for user research is my good friend, Google. So let's take a look. Google has this really cool tool called Keyword Planner, and I use it a lot for creating blog articles. So I'll come in, I'll see what types of things people are searching for and how hard it might be to rank on a search engine for the type of content that I'm creating. This is going to be helpful for us as we're building out this template because it's going to kind of show us how people are phrasing specific things about marketing and branding. And so it'll probably give us some insight on what people mean when they say I'm a marketer or I do branding. Another thing that it's going to do is it's going to help us see just how difficult it might be to rank for specific keywords. So when we're creating content to kind of point people back to this new template that we're hoping is highly downloaded, it's going to give us some insight as to whether or not we should pick one specific type of marketer or branding person versus another so that we can have a chance at actually showing up on search engines. So let me show you how I use this. All right, so first I'm going to go to Keyword Planner, and it's going to pop up with the screen, and we're going to hit this big square here with this light bulb that says Discover New Keywords. And at our first go, we want to be really general. We don't want to get specific on like a long tail keyword. We want Google's Keyword Planner to kind of do the work for us and help us whittle down what we're going to focus on specifically. So I'm just going to type in marketer and see what it gives me. We'll click get results, and then you'll see kind of a lot of stuff. This can feel overwhelming, but let me just kind of break it down for you. You have what we provided right up here, but then underneath that is keyword ideas, and it's going to give you a few columns. So the first one is the idea itself. The second one is the average monthly searches. So we can see that this phrase, digital marketing, means or gets anywhere from 100,000 views to 1 million searches per month. So that's actually really big. And then we can kind of see the trend that this search has had over the last 3 months and then the year over year change. And we can see that this has gone up by 900% over the last year. So the trend is definitely up for digital marketing being searched for on Google. Then the other kind of important thing for us is this competition column right here. And this lets us know just how hard it's going to be to rank for this specific type of keyword. And obviously we want to stay in the lower competition, but medium is not bad, but we definitely want to stay away from any of the hard competition keywords. So already so much information about the specific type of marketer that we might go for within this template. And one that I can tell is kind of rising to this top is this social media marketing, right? Over the last month, there's been 10,000 to 100,000 views. That's a lot of views, okay? So that's kind of important. But even the more important thing is that the competition for this is actually very low. So I think this might be the direction that we go in terms of setting up our template and choosing a specific user persona. Now, we might not specifically say this is the free website template for social media marketers. We might just make it for marketers in general, but we're gonna go after a user persona who more so identifies as a social media marketer. So that means we're going to have different types of functionality on the website that we include that would be important to that type of marketer.
We're getting more and more dialed in, but I still need to get a lot more specifics on the type of user that this template is going to be for. Our art director, Kat, just did a project where she actually dove into the Showit user personas. And so I went to her to try and get insight on what my next steps might be.
Yeah, so we're kind of trying to think through, like, we have the whole Showit customer base, and then I try to kind of divide them down into 4 categories of what not only our current customers, but the customers we want to continue to attract and speak to. So I identified like who the 4 different people are. That might be, different for your project. And then once we got each of those fictional people, kind of their characteristics and attributes, then I tried to kind of match them up with people that I could actually talk to and do an in-person interview. Ideally, it's the best case scenario that you can talk to someone. It doesn't necessarily have to match every single aspect, but just to kind of fully flesh them out, who they are as a person. So for example, like DIY is one of our categories of Showit customers, people that aren't necessarily hiring a designer, they're doing it themselves, often starting from a template, but trying to customize it quite a bit. I chose this couple that I know that is starting a coffee shop. And so I talked to them, just kind of what some of their frustrations might be with starting a website, how they're, doing it themselves, where they want to see their business grow, even like the kind of car they drive, and if they have any pets.
All right, that gives me something to go off. Thanks.
So we got some really good insight from Kat on user persona. The thing that stuck out to me the most was the fact that like the best way to do user research is just to sit across the table from somebody that fits the persona that you're going after. And one of my friends, Sarah, is actually a social media manager, but she also works in Showit, so it makes it kind of convenient. And so we're gonna go and sit down and chat with her and just get her thoughts about what kind of website she would want, but also just like what kind of stuff inspires her. So I'm super excited about having that conversation. She's super creative, super colorful, and I think we're gonna get a lot of good insight for the template that we're gonna make.
So tell me a little bit about your interests, specifically like online. What types of things are you drawn to? What kinds of content do you find yourself just like naturally looking at?
I am attracted to anything that is clean. It's a modern look, but it's not too modern. It's still fun and not too serious. I'm attracted to anything that is colorful, anything that is bright. I'm attracted to clean fonts, round normally. It's anything that is with specific shape that you can identify. Yeah, that's what I would say.
Yeah, that's awesome. Is there any particular content creator that you find yourself, you're like, man, all of their stuff is just awesome?
I do. And it's actually interesting because it goes from a life coach. I like what she puts out there. Her content is super deep, but the way that she introduces it, it's super clean and very simple. It's always white, black, and yellow. So anything graphic, it's always the same colors. So you would think that you would get bored, but because I know her content is always deep, I always end up reading it. I like, there's a social media pro that I follow as well. He's funny, and I like his content because I know if I watch it, it's gonna be funny. The aesthetics for him, they're always changing because his accounts are always changing based on Instagram and Facebook updates. As we all know, they change every 3 seconds. So it all depends. I have a little bit of of everything.
In terms of like a website that you would build for yourself, how would you navigate wanting to bring some of your own inspirational stuff onto it versus like, you know, you don't want to have something that's going to repel clients that might have a different aesthetic or, you know, might not necessarily be inspired by the same stuff that you are inspired.
Yeah.
What would you do to solve that problem?
I would keep two things in mind, and I think it will work towards two things. Number one, obviously represent who I am. My website has to speak my language. It has to show who I am. It has to show that Sarah is a 38 years old woman. It's a mom. It has a graphic design background. It has web design background. That's what it needs to show. But at the same time, I would want to show what I'm capable of. And this is where my website would become my portfolio. It's not just a PDF that I would send to my client, but now it's, if you want your client to see what you're capable of, what you can offer, you show your social media platform, you show your website. That's literally your first impression. So I would try and manage both the fun, happy colors, and then at the same time the professional me that I can be.
That makes a lot of sense. So you mentioned portfolio being something that would be important to you. What other like features would you love to have on a website that you would hope to get clients to come and inquire of your services?
When I think of my ideal website as a social media manager, I think of the ability of just have my platforms obviously linked, my client's platform linked to it with a click. I would love to have almost like a different cover for every project. I would love to see the ability to put videos here and there of what I've created for the social media platforms without having to, you know, always land on these are the screenshots of what I've created in the past. I don't think I need a lot. It doesn't need to be a complex website. I think it just needs to be a clear website where I can show what I can do, who I am, and just the opportunities. Something that I would always want the possible client to know is that I am a person that is always willing to learn. So even if I haven't created something for your specific market, I'm ready to learn, right?
Sure.
So something along those lines.
Talk to me a little bit about where you go to personally for inspiration or just entertainment, and maybe offline, you know, like are there books, are there magazines? I know you're really into the fashion. I know that brings a lot of inspiration for you as well. So where are you going to find that stuff?
I definitely love fashion. Pinterest is my go-to for fashion. My husband and I have lots of fun looking at what I consider is really cool. I just search. There's a couple of websites that I always land just to look at new ideas. Even if it's as simple as using Canva, just to look at what they are coming up with, because I know this is a platform that graphic designers hate because it has become that tool, but it's just cool to see what they're coming up with. It's a platform that has been using for, you know, by so many people that they always have to stay updated. I love listening to soundtracks. Since I can remember, I have been playing movies in the background while I'm studying or while I'm working. So I have my iPad here because I'm always watching something. I'm inspired by deep audiobooks. Even having conversations with my kids, very joyful moments with my kids, with my husband, just like sparked something on creativity. So I keep that as a secret something at the end of the day. Just family dinners when we have conversation about their day. That is an element that I always consider this is good for my creativity.
Yeah, so that was a really great conversation with Sarah to get some good ideas of stuff that she likes and she's into, and some stuff that'll appeal to people just like her. I really like the idea of going with bold and bright colors, but at the same time keeping it simple. And I think that's something that a lot of designers struggle with, is like this balance of, you know, like being bold and being out there, but not to the point where it becomes so busy that it's tough to take in. And so I like that idea. I like the idea of making some of the copy about like growing and achieving but also being something to look up to for family. So I feel like we've got a lot of good direction, and now it's just a matter of getting some of those design elements and some of that branding down so that we can have like a good foundation for the template that we start to then lay out and create. So that's really kind of the next step, is to start thinking about branding for the template. So it's stuff like font choices, it's stuff like colors, some of the images that we're gonna have and display on the template. So it's gonna be fun. This is when things start to get really creative and really interesting. So I think it's gonna be a good time.